All right, I'm live. We'll wait a couple of minutes before people show up to begin. If you're watching on catch up, be sure to like the video, leave a comment, all of that. We have a viewer. Hello. Be sure to say hi in the chat. Now we got multiple people watching. Be sure to comment so that I know that you're here, can hear me. It helps with getting the stream going. I do enjoy going live. It's a bit of a different experience to pre-recording videos, and I like the interactive piece of it and that we can expand the conversation. So, let me know what you think. Do you prefer me live to the pre-recorded video style that I've done in the past? And be also sure to like the video. All right, so we got some viewers. Okay, well, today I'm here to talk about having the correct mindset, having the correct attitude, and how important that is with anything you're doing. Because if your attitude is not correct, if it is improper, if it is poor, then your results will be as such. Really, your results are driven by the attitude you have, and always keeping a positive attitude and mindset really does enable you to get the most out of any situation that you are in life. I'm dropping gems here, folks. I really am. If you have a bad attitude, you will see everything that you're doing negatively. You will look for flaws instead of for opportunities. And you will really shoot yourself in the foot. I want to give an example because recently this is not a situation that I was personally involved in, although it did impact a person in my life pretty strongly, and that's how I know about it. And it involved like a place that I go. Anyway, there was an employee who had a very bad attitude generally, just in general about most things, consistently was looking for the flaws in everything, looking for things to be upset about, was consistently angry, upset with their coworkers, always focusing on what was wrong with people and not what was right with people. If you are in the habit of looking for what is wrong in people, if you're in the habit and you're of a mindset that people are a certain way, you're going to find that because nobody is perfect. Everybody is different. Everybody has had a completely different experience than you. So when you interact with them, they're going to validate often whatever negative thing or stereotype or belief you have at some point. And then, this is a situation that just spirals in life. And this is an individual who's gone through this multiple times in their life, different scenarios, has had the same problem apparently every place they go. And let me tell you something, if you cannot recognize that you're having the same problem in every situation you're in, doesn't matter what community you're in, whether it's a workplace, whether it's a project, whether it's a social situation, if you aren't recognizing that you're contributing to that, you're in for a very rough awakening when and if you ever eventually do. And some people never do. Some people will go from organization to organization, job to job, friendship circle, city to city, and be in the same position because their mindset and their attitude towards life and other people has not changed. If you are to be successful in your relationships, in your communities that you're a part of, in the things that you build with other people, you have to be in the habit of looking for the good in people and making that expand. So, anyway, the thing is, if you are of a critical mindset to the point where you're always looking for flaws in other people, or you're always seeing their negative sides, if you're always offended by them, that's your problem. It isn't their problem. People really don't owe you anything in life, and they certainly don't owe you the responsibility of validating whatever you believe a good person to be is. The reality is that there are many ways to be a good person, and that isn't something that looks one way. So anyway, I want to go back to this scenario that I was talking about. This individual actually ended up getting fired because their poor attitude about everything led them to feeling entitled and justified to do whatever they wanted. Because, if you're always in the right, then people should just put up with you doing whatever. And now, this individual is in a situation where they've, they've made their finances precarious by losing their job. And they've made their, networking situation precarious because they've offended everyone that they worked with. Nobody has a good thing to say about this individual. And I'm sure, inside this individual, there are many good traits. I mean, I can already tell that, oftentimes the most tortured souls are people that are very deeply concerned with and troubled by the pains of the world and of humanity. That you have to remember that that's not your responsibility to solve every problem outside of yourself. And if you can't solve your own problems, you're really not in any position to solve anybody else's. And actually, you're just going to burn yourself out and then look and find fault with everyone else rather than finding fault within. And this was just a perfect example that I've just witnessed of this type of situation happening again. Y'all are being so quiet. Does nobody have anything to say about this? There's a chat for a reason. We're live for a reason. Come on, folks. I know it's Sunday morning, Like, get your coffee and get sharing about this type of thing, because attitude is everything. You will set yourself up for failure if you have a poor attitude as well. If you are of the mindset that you cannot achieve something, that you cannot do something, you have already made it so that you cannot. But if you have a mindset that you will try your best, if you have a mindset that you're open to doing new things, that's the other thing as well. Having a mindset that is open to experience and learning is critical as well, because you don't know everything. Even if you are incredibly skilled, even if you are incredibly smart, even if you are incredibly talented, there's always something else to learn and to know. And there's so much that you don't know. But many people have this mindset that they know everything. And that's the other thing, too. And I think that was very, very obvious in this situation that I, was a witness to recently, where, my friend's coworker ended up getting fired. This person knew everything, even though they didn't. Chev G said, we must strike a balance in looking at the good in others, but also being weary if we do see negativity in others. I'm not familiar with the work of Alan Carr. Stanley Tweedle says it's actually a big part of Alan Carr's writing. Attitude and mindset is how to get over addiction, not so much technique, etc. It's true. I mean, you have to have the right attitude. You have to have the right mindset. How you think determines how you act. At the end of the day, it's all starts in the mentality of a person. And if the mentality of a person is screwed up, if it is, let's say, negative, like you said, I mean, I know from personal experience myself as well, because I've had a negative mindset in the past, a very critical mindset. It was not productive for me or for anyone else. Everybody has negative aspects. Everybody has things about themselves, character flaws, if you will, or character traits that may not be compatible with yours. But you have to be focused on the good in people, especially if you want to build anything, if you want to grow anything, if you want to do anything in connection with other people. You have to look for the good in them and focus on that, so that is what grows within them. How do you balance looking for the good in people and acknowledging people are not perfect and forgiving things they did that made you feel bad? I think forgiveness is about you and yourself and how much you're willing to carry for something that another person has done. Like how much feeling, anger, resentment, attitude, how much of that feeling you're willing to carry inside yourself. And it also requires you, in those times when you feel victimized or hurt by a person's behavior or actions towards you, my best advice is to look at yourself and look at the situation from that eagle view. All right. Go out of yourself a little bit and think, what have you done in your life that isn't, or that may have hurt someone? Try to understand that nobody is perfect, that people have flaws. If somebody is, what I would say, exhibiting behavior patterns that are actually very worrisome, you may want to speak to someone about it, that is a trusted, figure who may be able to assist you. with strategy, because I know in some situations that individuals can be have how do I want to phrase this? Some people have really bad habits and behavior patterns they're in. Some people are violent. Some people are engaged in criminal activity that is damaging to other people. So in those kind of circumstances, I think it's good to look to somebody else for help, support, and advice who may be able to assist you with dealing with that kind of situation. And in that kind of situation, I mean, I don't know exactly what to recommend. Healing from those type of things can take time, and real compassion towards yourself and towards humanity. And just do not allow those kind of situations and people to make you not willing to live your life. Because ultimately, you are here for you, and bad things will happen to you along your journey. But the most important thing you can do is to try to make sure that you have the best life possible for you. Um, a lot of people dwell in their pain and sorrow and their suffering, and it's important not to get stuck there, because you have one life to live here and you deserve to be happy. So I would say that, like, try to be happy, try to choose happiness, try to move away from suffering. When it comes up in you, try to do things that make you happy. Try to live in the present moment. Anyway, yes, Lavender says it's interesting how when you begin to understand that when you meet negative, judgmental people like that, you can really see they're deeply hurting and projecting that outwards. Being compassionate to someone like that through their negativity sometimes helps breakthroughs happen. And I think that's true. I really do think that's true. It depends on the individual, though, because people will only hear a message when they're actually ready to. People will often go, you know, sometimes it's that they haven't had anyone be compassionate towards their own pain and suffering. And to begin that process can be helpful. Most people aren't very skilled with that, though. And I have to say, when I was in mindsets like that, I wasn't really able to receive compassion because I felt like it was condescending. And I think people often, you have to be, I mean, being honest with them is important as well. I mean, telling them what you really think and not tiptoeing around them is helpful, because if they do respect you, they are likely to listen to you. But some people are just very invested in their own pain and their own misery, and they'll do anything to protect it because it's what their identity is based on. And when you're dealing with someone like that, there's a lot that they have to unravel themselves. I think the best thing to do is to be true to yourself in that circumstance and to be compassionate, to empathize if you can, because we've all been in states that were not, I don't know what the best word is. We've all been in difficult or incorrect mindsets at times in our life. So yeah, you do want to exercise compassion, but you also need to understand that they have to do the work themselves in order to change themselves. You know, you can't change another individual ever. You can maybe inspire it, though. And I think that's an important thing to recognize. Why are you changing your looking? Are you wearing slave paint? I mean, it depends on what you or how you determine what that is. I have chosen in the past year or so to begin practicing femininity again. So, yes, um, I have changed my appearance for me and for my own betterment in the world, um, because my mindset has changed. And honestly, my appearance has changed multiple times throughout my life as an adult. And I'm always, mm, I have a style. I have a very classic style, I would say, but I'm consistently looking to change and improve myself. And, if we talk about that word, like we talk about the slave paint thing, my opinions about femininity previously. We also have to look at my mindset being different at that time. And my mindset at that time was not healthy. Okay. I believe that women should make choices for themselves that are best for themselves. So if that to you means not wearing that, then that's fine. For me, the best choice for myself is to invest as much time, energy into myself as I possibly can, and to decorate myself and to be true to myself. And the reality is that I am a feminine woman. So I'm doing it to excel, you know? There's a lot to unpack with that. And I don't know if I really want to get into that, but I mean, my mindset, you have to understand, I've not been a very happy person for most of my adult life. And when I speak about things like mindset and attitude, I have personal knowledge of what I'm talking about here. So, um, I remember like being on camera and talking about subjects, and I literally would feel disgusting inside talking. I mean, in certain topics, because the pain was so real. The pain was so intense in me. And the desire to change the world and to change other people, and my frustration and anger with other people, when I could have just been pouring my energy into myself and making myself happy. So I'm not here to make anybody else happy. And I was, interested in chasing approval. So I mean, that's the basics of it. I mean, I remember. Okay, so Stanley Tweedle says, I remember looking back on myself and what a mess I was. Years later, I know how hard it actually is to help people like that. It really is hard to. It's hard to reach someone who is convinced they know everything, convinced they are right, convinced the world is wrong, convinced that other people are X, Y, and Z. Everybody's this way, everybody's prejudiced, everybody's, got this kind of wrong mindset, everybody's, oppressive. Oh my God. I mean, yeah, and that's the thing. This individual who, and I'm talking about this person, I saw so much of myself in this person. And it made me really, this example I've been talking about with the person with this messed up mindset, it's really affected me because I'm a bit older. This individual is just going into their Saturn return. And I know how difficult that was. And during my Saturn return, it wasn't a positive time for me. I mean, a lot of bad things happened in my life, a lot of really difficult things happened. And I just felt like at war with the world. And it ended up manifesting in like a war on myself and an obsession with, I don't know, believing that I knew everything and I knew the way everything was supposed to be. And everybody else wasn't as smart as me, wasn't as aware as me, wasn't as, awake as I am. You have to watch out for people who think that, because you'd be surprised how deep people are. You really will be surprised how someone who you make all these judgments about, how much they've been through and why they do what they do and why they see things the way they are. A lot of it has to do with maturity as well and growing up, because when you're young, things are black and white most of the time. Right is right, wrong is wrong, you think. But as you go through life and you kind of look at it, what is right and what is wrong, and I think we do a lot of harm to ourselves and to other people when we're trying to be the morality police, when we're trying to police everyone. And that's the other thing about this, because I don't know if I'm going off topic, but like I feel so much that the whole social justice mindset that so many people are wrapped up in, and people of various belief systems get wrapped up in this, is very puritanical. And it has people believing that they're a moral authority when they can't even goddamn like take care of themselves. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy. If you can't like function, why are you a moral authority? Why is your suffering make you so much smarter than everyone else? Everybody goes through things. Some people just don't choose to stay there. They go through the bad thing and they say, you know what? I'm only here for a limited amount of time. I'm going to chase my happiness. And that is smart. And that is the correct thing to do. And so many people, because they adopt this attitude of, the world is oppressive, they literally oppress themselves and keep themselves stuck because they can't work with anyone. They can't, because this person did this thing, this person did that thing, this person said this thing, this person said that thing. Instead of looking at the fruits that people bear, they're focused on the seeds. It's whack. And it's a mindset that really holds a generation back. It holds people back. You see it. And the older I get, the more it troubles me, because I was stuck in it, myself. So when I do recognize it in other people, it brings up emotions for me, because I don't want to see anyone in that kind of place where they feel responsible for everybody else, and they feel responsible for making sure that the world is good and right and just, when nobody ever said life was going to be fair. We all have to work with what we're given. We all have to play the cards that we were dealt at the end of the day. And we need to kind of like get over our challenges and focus on what's good about us, focus on what our strengths are, focus on the same thing in other people. Ashling, okay, so you look great and I'm glad you're happy. Thank you. I am happy with how I look too. Yeah. Your video with another woman where you were talking about slave paint felt nasty and judgmental. So I'm glad you're happier now. I mean, yeah, and I'm still friends with that woman. Her name is Leah. All right. And yeah, she's She's my friend, and that's where we were at that time. And I think there's a lot of true things in that video as well. A lot of makeup has chemicals in it. You want to do things consciously. Don't just do things because the culture is suggesting you do them. And when you do them in your own way for your own reasons. I do think people need to think about things and be critical about them that they're doing and understand like the other side. So, I mean, I will say that, but I'm not interested in telling other people how they should live. I'm still figuring out how to live myself. Kiera, how do you start? How do you begin to step away from ideological thinking? How has that process impacted you? Okay. Before you had a belief, you existed. Before you had a belief, you were there. You existed, you were a consciousness. Get back to who that is. Go back to her or him, because I know there's men watching this. Go back to who you were before belief came into the picture. What does that person feel? What does that person think? What is that person experiencing? And what does that person want to experience out of life? Stop focusing on what's right and wrong. Stop focusing on how the world should be and focus on what you can get out of it. Focus on what your goals are and make sure your goals are self-focused, because if you're people, I mean, I've talked with friends about this. They will get into mindsets where they deliberately hold themselves back because they do not believe, right? Or because at some certain point in their life, they believe that the world was just against them. If you think the world is against you, how likely are you to take risks and chances and go after what it is you actually want? If you think that the odds are stacked against you, you're unlikely to act. And you're likely to act in ways that disempower you and hold yourself back if you believe that you don't have an opportunity. And that is the real struggle, I feel, more than anything, is the control of this. Don't let the world control your mind. Don't let other people's thoughts control your thoughts. Make sure that you are looking at yourself with love and compassion as well. Love yourself is what it comes down to, really. If you love yourself, then you're not going to let anything, whether it be a belief system, whether it be an ideology, whether it be a religion, if you actually care about the individual that you are and you treat that individual like they matter to you, you really aren't going to get sucked into that anymore. I mean, because you're going to hear things and you're going to be like, who says I can't have that? Who says I can't do that? Who says that I'm going to get treated this way? Walk into situations like you deserve to be there, like you deserve to take up space, like you are who you are. If you know who you are, if you like who you are, if you love who you are, then that's a big part of the battle already won. Because this culture and these belief systems, they really do tear down your self-identity. And when I talk about they give you identities that are based on the world, not an identity that's based on this, not an identity that's based on your spirit and your soul. They want to give you an idea of yourself, an identity that is based on factors that are outside of who you individually are. Go back to that person. Who is she or he, and what does that person want out of life? I mean, that's my best advice. It's a process, but you have to look at yourself and be like, I want the best for me. I deserve the best for me. And the best for me is up to me. I mean, I'm really floored at what I see some people say at times. And it has to do with like these concepts of oppression, of hierarchy in society. Do these things exist? Yes. Does racism exist? Yes. Does sexism exist? Yes. Why are you letting it, though, impact the choices you make for you? If somebody doesn't like you, don't worry about them. Worry about liking yourself. Worry about doing for yourself. If you want to control people, the best thing you can do is to make them believe they are powerless and the world is against them. Because that's, again, if you believe you can't do something, if you believe that the odds are stacked against you and you'll never get what you want, like why would you even take action at that point? So really be aware of limiting beliefs. Try to really listen to beliefs that you have, to listen to excuses that you have. Listen to the things people say as well, and like really think about them critically, because I'll listen to people and they're, bright, brilliant, and then they start going off about something that's like outside of themselves. They're going off about something that's like they have no control over. And how much the thing that they have no control over is holding them back. Why is that where your mindset is? Why aren't you focusing on what you can do? It upsets me. It's disempowering. And when you listen to that kind of stuff from people who look like you, who you identify with, it also has a really strong impact. So, I mean, seeking out people who you identify with, who have good mindsets and don't limit themselves, like don't limit yourself. That's the other thing. Like, think about what you really want, which is your lifestyle. Think about the kind of life you want to have. Think about the things you want to do in the world and go after them. And don't let, whatever belief you have make you think that that's not possible. What gets me is how much people are likely hiding their personality in public. I know I do. Most people only see about 20% of who I am. Suffering people want to change the world to give some kind of purpose to their life. Yes, their life is awful and they don't want to commit suicide, so they selflessly try to do good in the world. Yes. But you know what? You aren't Jesus, okay? All right? You're not here to be a martyr. All right? That is not your role. It's that puritanical, Christian, shame-based brainwashing that exists in this culture. You have to remember that, we think that we validate ourselves and we validate our existence by doing good for other people. Even if you can't do anything for anybody else, you still are valid. Good morning, HM. Would you feel comfortable sharing a little more about your relationship with femininity recently and the mindset you grew? Did it have to do with self-acceptance or what was involved? I saw a video recently and they said adversity is like a gift because it makes you stronger. And people who lived in the inner city rather than the suburbs ended up doing better in life. Well, of course you do. That's why I live in the city. I mean, how do people keep themselves from crumbling under adversity? What adversity? I mean, I don't know. I have hella adversity. I mean, whatever that means. You know, I have so many things that I have dealt with in my life that freeze people, that keep them from moving. I think living in the city versus like the suburbs. The suburbs are different than like living in the country. Okay, we'll just say that I have more in common with people that live in the country, honestly, than like the suburbs. But you realize, I think, pretty quickly that life isn't fair and that you have to do for you. You get in the habit of earning more money. You get in the habit of looking out for yourself. You get in the habit of understanding, I think, the game of life and how to play it a bit more. I mean, you know how low you can go and you know how high you can go, and you look for your place in it. I don't know if I really want to talk about my relationship with femininity. Ultimately, femininity is a tool. It's an aspect of myself as well. I mean, it's a complicated thing. Um, and we talk about the external like practices, then for me, it's really about trying to get the best out of life. And if I look a certain way as a woman, then I have more access. So to me, femininity and practicing femininity is about trying to get the best for myself out of life. In terms of like wearing makeup. Looking polished and presentable so that I can, access more. That's really what it was to me as a conscious choice there. I wanted to go up in life a level. I didn't want to be holding myself back because of a belief system that I had, which really wasn't paying my bills, making me happy, or, even really respected by anyone that I was doing it for. Like I was doing a lot of that for validation and acceptance that I was a good person because I was sacrificing, my own advancement. That is backwards thinking. It is poverty mindset. It is the mindset of somebody who is self-annihilating. As a woman, you should use all the tools you have at your disposal to get the most out of life. Femininity is an energy at the end of the day. It's an energy of receiving, and it's a good energy to be in. And it's natural for me when I sit in a feminine space, when I attract things to me rather than, trying to go get them myself, I fare better. I'm happier in that space and in that role. I also, it impacted my personal relationships. I am a feminine woman, and I want to be in a feminine role in my like personal relationships as well. But, I think part of that is, and I hadn't really been experiencing that for a number of years. And it felt really uncomfortable to me to constantly be pushed into this masculine role. That's another thing, because in relationships, that is really common. It's very rare that you find somebody that's as balanced because I would say my masculine and feminine energy is really balanced. I mean, understanding it as an energy, if you don't really understand this, I would suggest looking into the Hermetic principles and thinking about gender in terms of the Hermetic principles and understanding that there is masculine and feminine energy in every person, in everything, and how that works, how it works within you, how you interact with other people, understanding where you are like more aligned as well. But like, I don't do well when I try to be in a more masculine energy. Like, as a woman, I do have those traits, but I fare better and I'm happier when I'm more in my femininity. And I think the physical became a manifestation of the mental changes that I went through. So I know that's a long-winded response, Gia, but that is what my process and my thinking was. Really, it was about wanting the best for me. So I want the best for myself. I'm going to do what is necessary to get that. What advice would you give those who suffered childhood trauma and adversity? It's hard to shake mindsets that form during very formative years. Okay. What I would say to you is that every one of your ancestors went through what you went through, okay? Times 10, okay? A lot of the times we're stuck in patterns and belief systems of intergenerational trauma that we're not aware of. We can't even recognize that our parents were acting out their trauma on us, and so on and so forth throughout the generations. I mean, in my case, for what I dealt with as a child, there were a lot of different things that happened. And the first thing you have to understand is that you are not broken. There is actually nothing wrong with you. And what you went through is actually really common. And you have to change your belief systems about it. If you came from a culture where you didn't have the culture telling you that you were broken, you would get on with your life. But this culture wants us to feel broken so that we're constantly looking outside of ourselves for validation. Okay? And I know that this is very simplistic, but the advice I would give to you is to think about it really. If you were molested as a child, let's just use that as an example, how many of us were? How common is it? Okay, so are you really damaged? Is there really something actually wrong with you? Or is it that you've been trained to think there is something wrong with you? Because if you believe that you are broken, that you are irreversibly hurt, if you believe that you are traumatized, you will act that way. But if you believe that what happened to you is common, that it is, and you put it into the context of who you are as a person and where you want to go, like use it. If you're upset about something that happened to you, if your family treated you badly, if your childhood was nasty, use it as motivation to get the most out of life. I mean, you should be using it as motivation as an adult to get the best for yourself, to treat yourself nice. Really. You should be trying to make the situation in your adult life so radically different because now you're an adult. Now you have the power. Now you have power. You didn't as a child, but now you do. And we talked about this at the beginning. It's part of it, part of getting out of hell is recognizing that you put yourself there. If you're repeating patterns, you have to critically look at yourself in those patterns. And when you get triggered, okay, so let's just say like you keep having the same type of relationship. You meet someone and it's the same as it's always been. Get out of that situation. You know, you're overcome with emotions, they're flooding you. Listen to that and go in the opposite direction. What would you normally do in this situation? Also, slow down. You know, this culture is way too fast. We are way too fast. We get into friendships way too fast. We get into relationships way too fast. Slow down. It's very hard. It's very, very hard to get stuck in something you don't want to be a part of if you take your time getting into it. If you actually are approaching it. But really, I mean, most of the time when you have these unresolved wounds inside yourself, when you're walking around traumatized, wounded, you're going to be seeking external validation. And I think it's about recognizing that and recognizing that nobody else can tell you who you are, recognizing that nobody else has the power to determine whether you are good or bad, whether you are lovable or not, other than you. It all starts with you. And what I would really recommend more than anything is to pull back from the world and focus on yourself. Who is that person? Who are you? Not who your family is, not who your community is, not who your country is, not who your people are. Who are you? And what do you want? What do you like? And focus on that. And remember that you came here to be that. You're not here to be an expression of what anybody else thinks or wants. You're here to be an expression of who you are. So, I mean, I know that's a lot, but if you are in those kinds of positions, the biggest thing you can do is love yourself. It's very simple. The biggest thing you can do is love who you are. And love, I mean, it has to do with the inner child piece as well, because if you're walking around with that child that hurts inside, treat yourself as an adult the way you would treat that child if you were in charge of her. I mean, for me, part of that is like, you know, I have my little toys, my little reminders of who I was as a child, because I loved trolls as a child and I loved being in nature and the elements and art, you know, and fun and color and play. So that little girl still exists and she's grown up now. And I have a responsibility to be a mother to that child. And you also have to understand, like, for me personally, I was raised by my father. My mother was not present. So I had this big, massive yearning for female validation. Okay. So if you look at my journey, that sucked me into the whole radical feminism piece, because I was so hungry for that feminine energy. I wanted to go to the most feminine energy I could. And I learned a lot there. But, you know, I also lost myself in it as well. So you have to be very loving and understand what you went through, what you're actually seeking, and know that you can give it to yourself. Okay? Like, you have the power, all the love that you are seeking, you have the power to give to yourself. And once you are in the habit, making it a habit, I mean that for me too, like every single day now, you know what I do? I, the first thing I do is I feed the cat, but I make myself a hot beverage, usually a coffee, and I go and I look in the mirror, I wash my face, I put on my face, it's for me that was a ritual I started doing that made me self-interested. And people can think that that is shallow or superficial, but it's about time and investment. Okay? Invest your time, your money, your energy, your effort into you, and you will start to love yourself more. And that can look a lot of different ways. But I mean, that for me was a really big turning point where like the click just happened. Once I was in the habit of just checking in with me first before I checked in with anything else. Because at the end of the day, this is it. For your life is your experience. Try to be the steward of it. Try to love it, love this person that you are. I mean, there's nothing wrong with you at the end of the day. A lot of people went through what you went through. Some people go through war, you know, like some people go through really harrowing experiences. Like, put it in perspective and know that, like, you're not about who you are isn't what happened to you. It's what you choose to do with your will. Anyway, okay. There is Tetra Terezi says there is no correct attitude or mindset. There is a bell curve of what you should be doing, but there is no way to say this is the way to do. I mean, I do think there's certain mindsets that are correct and attitudes that are correct. Like if you're in a situation that you put yourself in, you want to have um, a mindset that remembers what your goals were and is working to achieve those goals. And if you aren't working to achieve your goals, if you've been blown off course, then I mean, like, that's incorrect. Or if you're like consistently looking for fault, unless you're paid to be a critic, I'll say that, unless you're getting paid to be a critic, don't be one. An analogy, okay, Stanley Tweedle, an analogy I would use would be 16th century English teeth. If your teeth are rotting out of your head, that is normal for the time, and your symptoms are understandable. Still, your teeth are messed. Yeah, Kira. Okay. My mother was present but very toxic. I struggle with seeking female validation and avoiding rejection from them as well. I mean, rejection from women is very painful. And it's a wound that a lot of women carry. We want women to approve of us. But the reality is that, like, the woman in your life is you. The number one woman that can give you the love that you're seeking is you. The number one woman that can give you the friendship, the companionship, the care is you. HM, growing up in an abusive single father household, in tandem with my experiences pursuing my computer science degree, drew me to radical feminism. I mean, yeah, my experiences drew me as well. I mean, I definitely like found the masculine world is not a place that's safe for a woman, because we aren't men. And the way they see things, the way they are, is not the way we are. And so for those of us who, especially like if you were raised by a single father, I know I've met a number of women in radical feminism that have similar experiences actually at this time where they were raised by their father. We seek the feminine very deeply. It's a very deep, gnawing thing within us. We want to be within that. Women only space is extremely valuable to us because when we were so young, we didn't have it. Our space was always invaded by a patriarchal male. We didn't have that female buffer to provide a space where there was a difference, and the masculine world and the feminine world are different. And the way they see it and the way women see it are different. It was very hard for me as a woman, especially I had no idea what I was getting into because I was raised with all these male mindsets that don't apply. When you're a woman out in the world trying to make it, like they just don't apply to you. And what you really want out of life, it doesn't really fit with that. I mean, it can for some women, and there are certain aspects about it that, because like I said, everybody has that energy of masculine and femininity, but a lot of us really struggle with it because we are trying to, as women, fit ourselves into a masculine mold. And it just doesn't feel right. It just doesn't fit. But I mean, it is what it is. So anyway, back to the correct mindset. I know we got onto this masculinity, femininity piece. That's another thing, like having the correct mindset. Because I remember too, like just looking at women and having all kinds of judgments about them if they were feminine. Like there was a point in my life where I would just be like, oh, that person is this way because she looks this way. Having no understanding or clue of what her life was, what she'd been through, what she was about or trying to do. You can really, if you have a closed mindset, that's the other thing. If you have a mindset and attitude that you're right and everyone else is wrong, the world is wrong, you know what's best for the world, you will block yourself from getting to know people, from expanding your circle. That's the other thing too. Like you'll be so obsessed with purity. You'll be obsessed with the purity of the people around you that you won't actually be focused on what is necessary, which is achieving your own goals out of life and like just experiencing people for who and what they are and trying to develop more understanding in the world. Because I had points in my life where I just wouldn't even talk to people because I was like, I know it. They can figure it out for themselves. And sometimes that's correct. Sometimes you just have to look at a person and be like, you're going through this over and over again. You need to figure it out. I'm not going to give you the information you need. Because even when you make it easy for people too, that's the thing. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. You know what I mean? You can't make people think critically about what they're doing to create the situations that they're in. That has to come from them. And most of the time, people will perceive that, especially if they're in that mindset, they will perceive it as very negative, and then you become the problem. if you're giving them like a solid piece of advice. They'll view you as the problem. It is what it is, I guess. At the end of the day, it is what it is. They're going to do that. People are going to look for excuses to not grow. People are going to look for excuses why they can't. That's the other thing, too. Like, if you're in the habit of making excuses for why you can't do something, that's something to look out for as in people as a red flag. And it's definitely something that you need to be aware of in yourself. If you want something, but you keep telling yourself you can't get it, that's going to be true. And secondly, like, you need to adjust what it is you want then. Because if it's so fantastical, so out of this world, so nuts, then maybe you shouldn't be focused on it. I think there's, that mindset of viewing the world as oppressive and viewing yourself as the one to set it right as well. I think it really does breed a lot of entitlement. I'll say that as well, because people believe when they're in that mind space that other people need to meet them where they're at, even if they're miles behind other people. You know what I mean? That they believe that they have the truth and the way. Oh my God, again, I'm getting Jesus vibes. And you know what? It's Sunday. It's like we're taking it to church, Really, if you were raised in a culture that is predominantly Christian, I want you to think about the way that impacts the people around you and how it's manifesting in the way they act. Because you can reject your religion that you were raised with outright, or you can reject those beliefs outright. But if you have swallowed certain beliefs from that, then you're going to continue to act those out. And it says right in the Bible that, God, it basically, if you read it correctly, you learn that the universe is mental, that God created things by speaking them into existence. And there is power in the word. Okay. So if you've been exposed to that mindset already, and you've been exposed to these stories, and the culture does it too as well. It will hold up like certain figures who've died tragically as martyrs and heroes. People who died for causes they believed in. Don't get into that. Don't get into that. There's a reason for that. There's a reason why that is held up. But it's not to your benefit. It really isn't. And I just get so sad. I get so sad when I look at it now. I think about the ways that like these kind of mindsets and beliefs hold women back and sometimes even get women imprisoned, killed. It's terrible. It really is. All because they're suffering inside and they want to make the world better. They'll like actually risk their own self to do that. And I feel it makes me really, really vexed, honestly. Because these problems have existed forever that we're trying to change. And once we're gone, they'll still exist. Try to use the time that you have and the resources you have to make something beautiful for yourself and for others. And try to enjoy what's around you as well. I mean, we're also like consistently brainwashed too by this culture to think, to consistently be in this doom mindset, to think everything is going to end. I mean, how, again, end times is that? I remember going to church as a little girl, and I remember hearing the pastor talk about the end times and Armageddon. And how is it any different than what you're hearing in the media? And you know, people believe this shit. Okay? If we all are going to die, we have no control over it. So why are we worried about it? It's going to come to all of us regardless. Why do we let other authorities into ourselves to control our minds, which are our most powerful assets? Your mind is everything. Your mindset is everything. It is the genesis of all creation in your life. Okay? It really is. The words you use, the thoughts you have really do affect your life. And I know that this is debated by people, but the more I live, the more I see it's true. The people with the wrong mindsets are consistently held back. And the people who have a positive mindset, who have a growth mindset, and who have a belief that they can do things, do a lot more. So just be aware of how you may be limiting yourself by what you believe, and know that the sky really is the limit if you take off the filters. You know, I see a mindset as a filter. See your mindset as a filter. It isn't reality. It's just a belief system. And you want to have the most appropriate belief system in order to achieve your aims and objectives in life. End of night, GC. Hi, Terry. I'm Alex Bramham's BF. He get kicked out of Pride for wearing LGB Alliance t-shirt. I don't know who that is. I mean, my question to you about this is, are you surprised? Do you honestly feel that this is unjust? Or was this an intentional stunt done to create a scenario where one could play the martyr? Why are y'all worried about this stuff? Like, this is another distraction. This really is a distraction. That's the thing about, like, be aware of how the culture is trying to distract you from living your own life. Why? That ideology makes no sense. It will not stand the test of time. The more you resist it, the more it will persist. Okay? It has no basis in reality. It has no basis in nature. Why do you need to stand against it? Do you stand against the flying spaghetti monster? Why? I don't know. I mean, I think people waste their time with this stuff a lot of the time. I really do. I mean, here you go. You're getting yourself into a situation. You're causing more problems for yourself in the long run. And for what? How do you get rid of this situation? You don't. You don't. It's not up to you. Don't buy into it. Don't do it yourself. But you're not going to get rid of, this is the thing, that back to the correct mindset. Back to having the correct mindset. Focus on what you can do, not what you can't do. You cannot control the choices other people make. You cannot control the choices that parents make for their children. You cannot control what the media does or the brainwashing of the culture. All you can do is focus on your own life and making it the best it can be. So, why do you think it's your responsibility to be the one that changes this? If people want to believe things that are not true, let them. That house of cards will eventually crumble. Okay? If a belief, if a lifestyle, if an identity is based on something that is not real, it will eventually crumble. You have to build on the bedrock. You have to build on the rock. Okay? And if other people are building their house on the sand, that's up to them. You're just making yourself, you're causing more problems for yourself. And this shit looks bad too. I'll just say that to you as well. Excuse my language. I'm trying to swear less. So I know I'm trying to swear less, but this stuff just makes you look bad. Okay? It really doesn't, all it's doing is making you look like the problem. If you don't like this stuff, if you don't want to be a part of it, and I know it pulls at our heartstrings, but these aren't your children. These aren't your lives. I know you want to make the world a better place for people who are like you. But the best way you can do that is to live your best life. And your best life does not include, getting kicked out of Pride because you wore a t-shirt. This is what I think. If you went to Pride wearing that t-shirt, you should expect to get kicked out. And so if that was your objective, to get kicked out of Pride, congrats. But if I want to go to an event, I want to go there for me and to have fun. My goddamn time and energy is too valuable to be using it to make a statement about how other people are wrong. That's how I feel about it. Why is this my fight? Why is this your fight? Don't you have enough struggles in the world? Why give yourself more problems? And I respect you too. And I understand feeling like the way you do about it. And it's maddening because it feels like being constantly gaslit. But honestly, the culture at large is trying to distract you from living your own life. It's trying to get you to focus on all of this crazy BS that is crazy. And I don't just mean this particular issue, I mean tons of them. All of the crap we're fed every single day is meant to drive you nuts, to make you feel crazy, to make you react, to make you triggered. It's intentional. And it's also meant to polarize the population so that you have people that, feeling like the average person is their enemy. Like, this person who doesn't believe this, this, and this is my enemy. Are they? Are they? I don't want to be involved in it. I don't want to be involved in it. I don't want to have anything to do with it. My identity is based on nature, my nature. I know my identity as a woman is based on my history, my experiences. I just, I don't want to get into it. If somebody else feels they're a woman, like, I will think what I think and they can think what they think. And, I'm not here for that. I'm not here for that discussion. I'm not here for that debate. I'm not here to bother. Because at the end of the day, right, there are two sexes. And if men and women didn't exist, male and female would still exist. Okay. And if anybody has any questions about that, they can go to a goddamn farm and watch the cows and the bulls make baby cows, okay? Or dogs or whatever animal, if you're confused about it, just look. These creatures don't have gender identities, but they have a sex. And that's how I view it. And that should be respected. If people don't want to respect it, that's fine. But I'm not going to impose my belief on them. If I'm going to go to Pride, I want to have a party. I want to have some fun. I want to meet some chicks. You know what I mean? I want to dance. I want to sing. I don't want to be focused on what other people are doing. Or I might just not go to Pride at all because I don't like crowds. I don't like being outside. I don't like summer. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like music. I don't like drunks. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to be around that kind of stuff. Do what makes you happy. V says, Terry just want to grill for God's sakes. That's right. I just want to have a good time. I don't care. Do what you're going to do. I don't have any power over it. We're not responsible for what other people do. And just be careful, because this shit is meant to be divisive. It's meant to divide the population. It's meant to make people feel crazy. It's meant to make people feel triggered on all sides. Okay. And, I really realized something, because I was at a women's march with my friend Leah. I was volunteering. Some young women had their signs. Leah wanted to talk to them about their signs because I probably shouldn't be like mentioning her name without talking to her about this. But anyway, I was there too. I was involved in this. I listened to these girls. They were talking about their signs. These were very young women. Okay. And these signs had statements about like how trans women are women and that, this event needs to be more catered towards trans women. There were even things being said on the mic that we shouldn't wear pink hats because not all women's vulvas are pink, as if the pink pussy hat thing was about that to begin with. And not all women have, pussies. The pussy hat thing. It's just, again, there's all of that crap going on. And I am like, these young women had a trans friend, okay? They were there because they felt that their friend was not being included. They felt that their friend was being, marginalized. And how many of us can identify with those feelings? At the end of the day, we're all people. All of us are human beings. We all see and feel things similarly, regardless of where we're at. The average person who thinks different from you is not your enemy, okay? And I'm getting emotional about it because it's serious, okay? It's serious. It's very serious. Anyway, I'm just gonna drop that because we all feel very similarly. How are we all feeling very similarly, and yet we're on opposite ends of the belief spectrum? Clearly, something else is going on here that is bigger than you and me and your ideological opponent. Okay? There's something going on that is deeper. And it has to do with dividing the population and conquering them by having them believe that they don't have anything in common with these people who are, at the end of the day, just regular people like them. Okay? And that's what I have to say about that. Focus on what you want out of life and stop focusing on all this crap that the media wants you to focus on. It's like this thing with the Olympics. I don't watch the Olympics. I am not an athlete, obviously, right? But yeah, I'm meant to be focusing all of my time, energy, and attention span on, a male person playing female sports, even though I wouldn't watch it regardless. Okay? A lot of this is fake controversy being drummed up to get people to pay attention to shit that they aren't interested in. Think about that too. A lot of people don't want to go to Pride because of how corporate and boring it is nowadays. Okay? It's a family friendly event. Okay? Like, a lot of people don't want to do that. So we have to drum up controversy in order to make it interesting, in order to make people talk about it. I'm not interested, period. And that's it. I'm not interested in sports. I'm not interested in going to Pride. I'm not interested in any of this stuff. I'm not interested in most of what's being produced in terms of like movies, TV shows. All of this stuff is artificial controversy being drummed up to get people in their feelings, to get people angry at one another, and to increase the ratings for the very boring show that's being put on by the Wizard of Oz. I am not interested. Anyway, and that's that. All right. Again, back to the correct mindset. Be focused on what you are about. Remember what your goals are when you go into situations, when you go into circumstances. I mean, like this case with the t-shirt, getting kicked out for wearing the wrong t-shirt at Pride. If that was your goal, cool, you met your goal. But what was your actual goal? So how is my witchcraft practice going? I honestly don't even know what to respond to that. What do you mean my witchcraft practice? Practice? It's great. My lifestyle, you mean? It's great. I make magic in my life every day, and it's awesome. My mental, emotional, and spiritual trauma will never be formally recognized so long as trans individuals are validated by the establishment. Why do you need the establishment to validate you? I don't need the establishment to validate me. If the establishment is validating me, there's a problem. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to be assimilated. I don't want to be mainstream. Okay? Sure, I'd love to touch as many hearts and minds as possible, but like, I don't need, the culture at large to validate my trauma. What trauma? Am I traumatized? Or do they want me to think I'm traumatized and feel powerless so that I don't take advantage of the immense opportunity I have living in the Garden of Eden? We are in the garden. We have the ability to create. We feel fallen. It is a feeling, it is not reality. There is nothing wrong with you or me, really, other than what we choose to believe and how we let it affect us. People vastly underestimate how technology has undermined, if not destroyed, the divine feminine. And I have to ponder that a little bit. I mean, I respect where you're coming from because you have an experience I do not have in that. Um, Having a degree in something that is so a part of the masculine, and I do see the ways in which technology is used to extract from the feminine, specifically like the belief that you could create without women, or that what women's bodies do, how we bring souls into the world, could be done by anyone else, or that it isn't valuable. Um, I mean, at the end of the day, you have to understand, if everything is trying to control you as a woman, you must be incredibly powerful. If everything is trying to keep you down, if everything is trying to control the powers that exist within your body, that your vessel, what it can do, what it can produce, it must be the most powerful thing on the planet. I mean, that's how I see it. I agree with you about that, Alex. I mean, that's been my experience of dealing with people in that regard. They don't recognize that they're workers because I don't know why. If you clock in somewhere, you're a worker, honey. You're a working class. If you sell your labor to somebody else, you're a worker. But I mean, a lot of people don't see it that way because they get paid well. They have a nice lifestyle. I don't know what it is. I don't know. Because I don't know, there's also that whole mindset of like physical versus mental labor as well. I think people make a class distinction about that, but labor is labor, and human labor is everything. There is nothing without it. Labor is everything. Anyhow, I mean, yeah, females, the female body is so powerful. I mean, when you think about it, there is a reason why men were sent off to die in wars, why men were drafted and women were not, because our bodies are more valuable. At the end of the day, what our bodies do is more valuable to a nation than a male body is. You only need one man and you can repopulate, but you can't repopulate a planet, a nation with one womb. You can only do so many. Think about it. Think about that. Really think about that. You are valuable. You are valuable to a nation, and the control of your reproduction, or the attempted control of it is very serious because you are so critical to a nation's survival. You are so much more valuable. Your life is because of what your body can do. Nations will literally throw away male lives and preserve the female because of this. I don't know what PMC means. PMC are not working class. They are the lackey class of the ruling class. What is a PMC? Can you explain that? Anyway, I'm gonna have to go soon because I feel like we're veering off a territory. And I hope the conversation at the beginning here and throughout about having the right mindset has. Hi, baby. Hi, baby. Hi, baby. Hi, my baby. Mr. Kitty, the best kitty in the world. You famous now. Look how famous you is. Look how famous you is. You love me. I love you back. What's just on your face? You got a little sneak on your face. Come here. There's something on your mouth. Come on, baby. I know. I know. It's annoying. Professional managerial class. Yeah. How easily they're bought off. For how little they are bought off. My cat's name is Sekhmet. She's a silver tabby British shorthair. Well, that is quite a name. That is quite a name. I was very lucky to see some statues of Sekhmet recently. There was an Egyptian, what's the word I'm looking for? Egyptian exhibit at the art museum. Queen Nefertari. They had a lot of interesting stuff there, but as you go to enter the exhibit, there are these massive 3 statues of Sekhmet, and she is just incredible. Just to be like right next to them, it was such a powerful feeling. And I went into the exhibit and they had so many ordinary objects from everyday life. Like they had women's makeup containers and applicators. They had like artists' paint brushes that actually still had the paint on them, and like workmen's tools and drinking and eating vessels. It was an incredible exhibit. It was really nice to see stuff that people used then. Egypt is just such a dream. I've had a love affair for it since I was small, since I was very young. And of course, their appreciation and love of cats. and all that they do for us is really. Detective John Kimball, who is your daddy and what does he do? Oh dear, oh dear. Who do you think you're messing with? Do you miss the ancient Egypt? Do you miss the day back then? Do you miss the day back then? Do you miss them old times? Your younger days? You miss thinking about them younger days when you were a small kitty, when you were an ancient Egyptian kitty. You miss all that sand, don't you? Everyone should love cats. They are exquisite mirrors. They are beautiful companions. They are friends. I mean, this little guy he gives me so much love. He gives me so much protection and kindness. And he also tells me when I'm being a jerk, or he really shows me myself as any true companion should. He's just, oh, baby, I love you. I love you so much. Why, you're the best kitty. He also poops in my house. Well, where else is he supposed to do it? He can't go outside. And don't you poop in your own house? Or do you have an outhouse? Or do you go dig a hole in the ground outside and go in your cesspit? I mean, or are you one of those people that refuse to go anywhere, outside of your house, you'll go to the coffee shop and be like, oh, can I use your bathroom before you even get there? Get to the counter to order your coffee. You're asking to use the bathroom because you've been holding it because you refuse to go in your own home. It's his house too. It's more his house than mine. He's here more than me. Yeah, I love how my cats mirror me in my inner states. I mean, he would prefer to go outside. He would prefer to be an outdoor cat, but it's not. He made that compromise when he chose me to be his human. Okay, so why are you complaining? Why are you bringing up that he does it in my house? It's his house too. Why are we even talking about it? I don't like to discuss this kind of thing, actually. I don't. I like to pretend it doesn't happen. When it does happen, I like to just get it over with and, move on with my life. And he's very similar, you know. He, he goes where he's supposed to. We have an arrangement. We don't need to get into it. Why are you bringing it up? My poor, beautiful cat. All he wanted to do was come say hi and give me some affection. And here you are bringing up his number twos. He doesn't even want to do them in front of me. Mine knows I'm upset even when I don't show it. So how is he mindless if he's a hunter, if he's a predator? There's nothing mindless about him. I am not holding him hostage. Whenever I open the door, he runs outside. He is not hostage. He chose this arrangement. And he knows that he gets benefits out of living with me. And you know what? When a fly gets in the house, he's on it. I have no ownership over another being. I know that. We are bound to one another. He runs off. He jumped onto the neighbor's balcony the other day. He went out on the balcony and he jumped onto the other porch. And you know what happened? He came right back. You know why? Because he loves his life with me. He knew what was out there. He likes to explore. He likes to go see what there is. He'll run out into the hallway, and where does he come back? He comes back to mama. Well, as he should, just as any creature should. If I didn't feed him, he would be gone forever. If you aren't doing something for people in your life, they should be gone forever too. What do you mean? If you don't feed your kids, they're going to go somewhere else too. Damn. If you don't feed your friendships, they're going to go elsewhere. If you aren't good to your partner, where are they going to go? They're going to go somewhere else. He gets his needs met by his human. I keep up my end of the bargain. And you know what? He provides me a lovely companion. He did choose me. I found him. And he ran right into my arms. He ran right to mama. I said, he was outside. He was abandoned. He was scared. He was little baby. He showed up in our yard. There was a feral cat colony where I was living, and somebody dropped him off. And I said, and you know what he did? When he was a tiny little baby, he ran straight up to my arms. He literally jumped up and leapt into my arms. And we have been together ever since. So yes, he did choose me. I didn't go to the pound. I didn't pick him out. I didn't purchase him. I didn't go on Craigslist. No, he came to me. And he stayed with me since. Because we love each other. I do speak cat. I can communicate with animals. Yeah. And he and I communicate very well. Cats are killing machines. That's right. That's right. That's what I love about him. What do you mean they don't love? I disagree. And you know what? You know what? Even if he doesn't love me, it doesn't matter because I love him. It doesn't matter. Even if he doesn't love me, I don't need him to. I love him. Our relationship isn't about that. Disagree about what? You're just wrong. You don't know him. You don't know our relationship. You don't know what it's like. You don't know how he is with me. You don't know how sweet he is to me, how he goes with me all around the home, how he protects me, how he treats me when I'm upset. He comes right up to me and he clears all that bad energy away. So, we can disagree because you are wrong and you think you know my cat, but you don't know my cat. But anyways, with that, I think I'm going to head out. It's been a lovely chat. Thank you all for being here. Be sure to give it a like if you haven't. Do I still do drawings? I got my easel right here. I started working on this on my last live stream. So yeah, I do drawings. You can go to my Society 6 shop in the description, and you can purchase prints of my artwork. I don't have all of it up, but something, you're going to catch my next stream. Are you going to subscribe to me, John? All right. Well, take care, everybody. Until next time, thank you for listening. I hope that this was edifying and that it, puts you in alignment with where you need to go. And with that, I'm heading out. Bye.